Thank you, everyone, for tuning into Nerd Waffle Live number 3. Today I have Switchpoint on the line.
Hey, don't forget to switch it up and keep it awesome.
And so I've known Switchpoint for about 10 years now. But for everyone who doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Switchpoint. I'm a Canadian, born and raised Canada. I have some background my parents are like from the Middle East though. We moved here and then, but I like Canada. I like the people here. Awesome, awesome country. Now,
how'd you get into live streaming?
That's a good question. How to get into live streaming? I mean, I don't know. I guess I just kind of started doing live streaming and I really enjoyed it. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, so I was invited to a few live streams back before I really started like doing my YouTube channel like seriously. And then people and I started enjoying those. So I was like, okay, well, what if I do this, but like in a more controlled manner and like make it an actual show kind of thing, kind of like almost like a live talk show in a weird sense. And so then that's kind of like what I started doing. Funny enough, I met Flatmeister who is one of my podmates, one of my podcast mates, and of course yourself. I knew you. Me and you were throwing some ideas around for a podcast for a while there.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to get some of the nooks and crannies kind of worked out for a while, and then life got a little busy for me, and I think you just continued on. I think that's where you met Flatmeister and Crumple Point, and that's you started to do the live impromptus, and that's where I met Flatmeister and Crumple Point, and that's kind of where the Flat Pack was born.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Flat Pack was kind of born from that. We thought that the four of us had like a good chemistry together, so we were like, oh well, why not like make this a regular thing? And we
I remember having a conversation with Flatmeister too, and how much we both really like the Rat Pack. So, I mean, it's just funny and coincidental that and awesome that we got to name it the Flat Pack. But what kind of interests do you have? Like, I mean, for those who don't tune into a lot of your stuff on your channel, which I highly recommend people do, and the link is in the description to his Twitter and his YouTube. But someone who's new here, maybe they're someone who knows me better. Maybe they don't know you. Maybe they haven't tuned into your channel. Maybe they haven't tuned into the Flat Pack. Tell us a little bit about your interests and stuff like that. And yeah.
I mean, for myself, I would say that my interests are mainly I'm really big into like comic books. Specifically, I'm more of a DC guy. I've been reading Superman. I read Batman, The Flash, Green Lantern, all kinds of things like that. But like my my actual YouTube channel, like I talk about comics. I talk about like the comic culture, but I don't actually I don't do actual comic book reviews per se. And not that I don't like to do reviews. It's just that there's a lot of people who are doing reviews, so I'm not really sure if I'd want to put my 2 cents in on that regards. I like to at least kind of let people know like what's going on in comic culture and stuff like that. And I find that's more productive with my time because, like, sure, I could give my review, but I think people should also know like what the outside world thinks of the comic culture and what's going on around comic culture that would affect us as comic fans as well. I'm also into gaming, and I do discuss gaming culture to some degree as well. Particularly, like I own a Nintendo Switch, but I'm mostly a PC gamer, so I built my own PC because I do like to. I'm a bit of a tinkerer. I do like to build PCs and like work on them and stuff like that. Because I did do desktop support for a little bit, going some IT work there. Now, and PC is probably like my true love of things. I mean, I do kind of like that, kind of figuring out what the problems are and kind of fixing them and getting them working the way I want them to.
Yeah, absolutely. And as long as I've known you, you've been a DC guy and a computer guy, and I think that's why we got along really well is just their love for technology and our love for comic books in general. Because as you know, I'm sort of on the fence. I mean, you like Marvel too, but you know me, I'm sort of split down the middle, and it really depends for me, sort of the timing, because sometimes I find DC sort of dips a bit, and where DC dips, it's funny how Marvel just seems to all of a sudden get good, and then when Marvel dips, it's and all of a sudden DC starts, getting ahead. So for me, I kind of split down the middle, but from knowing you for 10 years, you definitely like both sides, but you more lean towards DC. You're a Superman guy and that sort of thing. So,
Well, yeah, no, and I recognize that DC does have its dips, and the Marvel has its dips, and then each one will have like its rises and be better than the other, like for a little bit. But, I think it's kind of just where I grew up and what my it is where I grew up and like what house I kind of stayed with that makes me more of a DC guy kind of thing.
yeah.
Not that, and it's because I never really hated Marvel, because I can name definitely Marvel characters that I really
Oh
like.
no, you don't hate. I can attest to that. You definitely don't hate Marvel. But yeah, like it's you are like I don't know like anybody who's more of a Superman fan than you are.
Well,
I mean, I'm
the
sure
True
there
Blue
are
hero.
some out there, but
Well, he's the true blue hero that I really like. That's for sure.
yeah. And they're doing something special with him. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, well, the Superman 1000 is coming out soon. So because he is actually when they added up all like the kind of like the action comics that were coming out, I guess they realized that like with the legacy numbering and everything, that Superman is hitting the 1000 in its series line. So they've been kind of counting down to it. They said the 1000 is coming out, and they're going to be doing some compilations for 1000. So like there's going to be 2 books coming out for 1000. There's going to be the regular edition book, which is about like 80 pages or 85 around that area. And there's going to be doing the a $30 book that's about almost 200 pages as well. And both of those are coming out for his 1000 story, for his 1000 action comics. And they're going to be compilation stories. They'll have like multiple stories from multiple writers and multiple artists working on it. And of course, another big event that's coming with that is apparently there'll be the return of the red trousers that were over the suit.
Did they stop? Because I haven't been really following Superman. Did they stop doing that in the comics also?
So in the comics around New 52, they stopped putting the red trousers on the outfit because they wanted to like redesign the costumes for like all the heroes to some degree. One of the big changes, of course, was that these suits were more like a solid armor kind of material. And of course, Superman's one of his changes was that he would lose. Along with that, he lost the trousers on the outside of the suit, which is fine.
I know they did that in. I know they did that in the movies, but I wasn't aware that they did that in the comics. And I did see the comic covers and stuff. I just maybe have like kind of missed it, like looking over it and stuff. So that's interesting. That's cool that they're adding it back for the 1000th issue.
Yeah. And now, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, the indication, I don't know if it's actually continuing on after 1000 where he'll still have the trunks or not. Rumor says that he will, but we'll definitely see where that kind of goes from there. So just wanted to put that out there too. So
yeah, and so I don't know. We hung out. We got some coffee today, and you were talking something about like another thing to do with Superman, China Superman or something like that.
Yeah, so there's another Superman out there right now. His name is Keenan Kong, I believe his last name was. And he is actually called the New Superman. Now, he's a Chinese version of Superman created by the Chinese government to kind of like be their part of their level of the Justice League. And he doesn't like step on the actual Superman's legacy. The reason they call him the new Superman or their Superman is because, and it is spelled differently, super-man instead of just like the one where it's Superman, because he is a different character. And the reason they created him the way they did is they actually gave him his powers by stealing a solar flare power, by stealing some of the energy from the solar flare and some other aspects and DNA from Superman, and used it to fuse into his powers to make him. They give him the Superman like powers. It was a very unique process, and it only seemed to have worked once. And the idea is that China wanted to create their own version of the Justice League that they could control.
I wonder, and I definitely got to read it because it sounds interesting, but I wonder if Lex Luthor is going to try to get his hands on this particular formula, even though like you said, it only worked once. But that'd be kind of interesting because he's always been trying to make his own Superman or become Superman kind of thing.
Well, the only time that I think that Lex even succeeded in it, because there were times he did, and there's a few that I can think of. One was when he created Bizarro, and even Bizarro had issues because like Bizarro was a clone of Superman that just started falling apart. The other time that it kind of worked out for him was when he went to Apocalypse, and he met the followers of Darkseid. Well, there he was given a suit and like the powers of a mother box, which then initially gave him kind of similar powers to that of Superman. Those are the only times I can think of where it actually kind of worked out for him. There might have been one other time. I mean, I guess you could always include a Cyborg Superman kind of scenario, but Cyborg Superman is a bit more of an iffy scenario altogether. But with those, the only times I think of that actually worked out for when it comes to Lex Luthor. Now, the difference here between like Kenan Kong and like Lex Luthor's Superman, Kenan had like his DNA regrafted to have Superman's DNA mixed with his own. So in all like retrospect with Kenan, he is kind of almost in a weird sense, kind of like a half brother to Superman in a weird sense. Because he had his DNA rewritten, right? Yeah. So that's a different kind of like.
But what I'm talking about is, I wonder if once Lex sees, has he well, first of all, I have to ask, like, did he ever encounter Lex Luthor?
I don't know if he ever did. I haven't read all the stories yet, and then the line for a new Superman, though I wouldn't be shocked if he had. I mean, this is in this case scenario. When Kenan Kong even had these powers, Lex Luthor was already Super Lex at the time anyway, because Lex Luthor had the mother box. So he might have not even cared. Yeah. But it's kind of hard to tell.
Because I'm just wondering, with like Lex, because Lex is a smart guy. Mm-hmm. And when he, something tells me like, when he sees this going on, like when he sees this new Superman, I'm just kind of wondering the impact it's going to make, like I'm just wondering if it, maybe it's a future storyline where Lex is just like, who is this guy? Why is there another like Kryptonian? And just doing his research, something tells me he'll dig out and realize that this is just a human that was given the abilities of Superman. And something tells me that's just going to trigger him. So,
it might. It definitely
be interesting might. Because the whole bring the fire to the people kind of thing, and if it's able to be replicated, something tells me he's going to want to try to replicate it again in some way. Well,
that's not something. Actually, this is like nothing new. If you've ever read 52, an awesome story, heavily high, not New 52. There's a story called 52 that takes place before New 52. Superman taught so there is a thing called the Superman effect that Lex Luthor talked about, where like there would be like overabundance of superpowered heroes that would like come as part of the Superman effect because people would try to replicate the thing. And Lex Luthor even kind of like added to it himself, because what he did was he also talked about what he did was he created like these nanobots that would like cause the mutates in your body to like be triggered so that you would then become a mutate.
Yeah.
And this was a thing, like he was using that. So like similar to Keenan's scenario where like Keenan was given like some fusion of DNA. What he would do is he basically just altered the DNA to turn on people's powers. And what it was is like they'd find the latent power within the person, or they would like grab the DNA to give them the powers they were looking for. And that's kind of so that the idea that Alexa did that is already there in like that 52 storyline.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that kind of continue on actually in a future kind of storyline, because I don't know if that's still canon to Rebirth or not, but it was an interesting aspect because like you could tell that Lex was purposely doing it to control like the superpowers of the world to be under his belt. So that is an interesting aspect to kind of consider.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you mentioned the solar flare. That's how we got like basically the science behind the Superman solar flare is something that helped create Keenan, or his abilities, I should say. But does he have all the abilities that Superman has?
I don't believe he does. No, there are some like vulnerabilities that he has where he isn't quite as strong as Superman, but he does have like the flight, the laser eyes, and a few like other like extreme power sets that like Superman is known for. But it's never depicted that it's never depicted of whether or not he's as strong as Superman, because he seems to also have vulnerabilities.
Which is
so
good.
like
Which is good character development.
Exactly. So from what it seems to be is like he doesn't have the full level of like the same level of like like not the same level of like the same level of so he doesn't seem to have the same level of like pain threshold that Superman has, it seems. So, and that might be because his powers aren't fully developed yet, or could just be because like he is human, he isn't technically Kryptonian, so his skin is still that of a human skin, so it can only be so invulnerable. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to say like how far that kind of goes. And I don't know if Kryptonite affects him or not. Again, like I haven't fully read all the storylines.
Sure.
Potentially Kryptonite does affect him just as it does Superman, because he does have that DNA within him.
Yeah.
So that is also something.
So yeah, you're not really fully aware of the weaknesses yet for him, other than maybe a little less strong.
Exactly. Like well, it's an interesting aspect, right? Like he isn't fully 100% Superman, right? So that means that he doesn't fully have like that full access, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I like that idea. It's like, so yeah, maybe his powers do go on the fritz every once in a while or something. We don't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, so Superman is a favorite. What would you say your second? So Superman, pretty sure Superman's your favorite hero, isn't he?
He's one of them. Yeah, he's pretty high up there.
Who's your favorite hero?
See, that's a that's a toss up, my man. Superman is one of my favorites for sure. Another one of my favorites is I'm also a really big fan of Barry Allen, the Flash. Yeah. And another favorite is I'm also a really big fan of the Green Lantern, specifically Guy Gardner.
Yeah, Guy Gardner, because we always have this conversation. As Green Lantern is my favorite DC male superhero. You know me, I have to basically award a superhero my favorite from each comic label, and then I have my favorite male and female from that, because it's just so I'm the same boat. Like it's just so hard to pick one, but I can do that with one comic label. Like Green Lantern, Hal Jordan is my favorite DC male character, and we get into this conversation all the time because he's, you like Guy Gardner and whatnot the best. Yeah. You like the other ones too, and I like the other ones, but I like Hal Jordan the best. You like Guy Gardner the best. So we're constantly talking about Green Lantern, and I'm on the same boat. I love Barry Allen, Flash. I like Bart Allen, and you know me, I'm not a big fan of Wally, but he's all right. And
I do like Wally quite a bit. And I can see why though. Like, not some people are not fans of Wally. I can definitely understand. But no, I do like Wally quite a bit. I mean, the thing is, like, I've read a lot of Wally over the years, so definitely, like, I guess I have like a soft spot for Wally as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to Barry Allen, though, I mean, I think I like what I like about Barry Allen is, and a lot of people like kind of make fun of it. Like, Barry Allen is bland; he doesn't have much of a character, but like that kind of is his character.
I would disagree with that actually, because he does have character. He's just not dramatic, especially as compared to some of the other heroes. Like Batman's a little over dramatic. Superman at times can be a little over dramatic. Heck, even Hal Jordan can be a little over dramatic at times. So I can see why he, out of the group, looks a little of like on the less exciting side, because Hal's got like the whole, womanizing thing to him. Batman is like this rich guy with mental issues. Superman is this farm boy and stuff like that. And then you've got like the average Joe guy who he's got a good job, he's a crime scene investigator and whatnot, but compared to the other ones, they tried to, give him the, his mom died and all that in front of him and that story, but he's fairly normal compared to the rest of them, you know what I mean? Like average, not normal, but average,
Yeah. But I mean, that's part of the appeal of Barry Allen, right? Is that he's a very average guy. There's nothing that like makes him like. There's nothing about him that overly stands out, and not like, and that's not a bad thing. That means that like he's like that's a thing where they forget like because the proper writers I've seen like that can pull that off to make it seem like that's actually his character trait. Really,
well, he's relatable. That's the thing is that like even with his villains, he treats like, Batman's like throw him in Arkham, Superman's like throw him in the Phantom Zone. Whereas like Barry Allen's just like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk to him or her and like make sure they're okay. And, I care about, not that Batman and Superman don't care, but you know what I mean? Like he gets more on the villains level of like, I remember in the TV show, he goes over to the trickster and he's just like, yeah, you know what? Finish your drink and make sure to get back to the insane hospital or whatever. I mean, maybe not a great idea to keep the guy out, but, definitely shows how much, Barry Allen cares,
Well, that version was Wally in the cartoon. But
right, that was Wally, but that was taken from Barry Allen because Barry Allen does that too, right?
Barry has done things like that in the comic before where he actually does have that kind of connection with some of the rogues. Yeah. But like what it is so is Wally. Wally's going to have those kind of connections with some of those rogues. But like, so that's kind of like the thing that's actually one of the big difference between like the Flash and some of the other heroes is there is that down to earth nature that the Flash always seems to have where like he's that hero who will definitely purposely take time out of his day to definitely say hi to somebody maybe along the road on the way to work or something. Because, hey, Barry Allen is always late to things. And,
well, that was actually more so like out of an ironic purpose of like he's the fastest man alive, but he's always late. And they wrote it into the comics for a while or whatnot of like he wanted to purposely be late so that he didn't look like he was the Flash or anything like that.
Yeah. And that was also true. But then part of that kind of evolved into, well, what if he's late because he is that hometown kind of guy, that he is that kind of, he does care about people. So he's always stopping by and asking people if they need help with things. So like that lateness kind of became part of his character as well in a weird sense, right?
Yeah.
So like he was late for a good cause because he's like, oh, well, I'm going to stop him. Hey, no worries. You need help changing your tire? I'll definitely take care of that for you. Oh, you need help like, with this small thing like your cat's in a tree, definitely I'll help with that. And then, and he says hi to them and he does what they need them to do. And then he heads on back to work kind of thing, So I'll definitely give him props where props are due in that case scenario because it's not about being like the hero for the sake of just being only a hero. It's about making sure to follow the proper people who need it, and also making sure that they know, yeah, I'm also one of the citizens in this town as well. You know, and I think that's definitely important to his character and part of like what makes him appealing. For me, at least, you know.
Yeah, no, understandable, and definitely, yeah. I love the Flash. He's definitely down to earth. You look at Aquaman, and he's busy ruling the sea. You look at Batman, he's busy with Gotham and his mental issues, and you look at Superman, he's busy with his newscasting and hitting on Lois Lane, and you got Barry Allen, who's just there being a nice guy, you know, or being a decent guy. You know, Superman's a nice guy too, but again, you know, busy.
Well, I mean, like the thing with Superman is there's that disconnect with Superman being, there's a disconnect with Superman being like a cosmic level hero, almost like he is. Like you're looking at people always remember like that they're looking at almost the father of superheroes, like, or the god or whatever, depending on who's writing it. I always like to think that he's the father. He's the one everybody looks up to. That they want to please, because he's the one that like he is kind of like the superhero who is the icon, the one that everyone wants to strive to be. Yeah. And because of that, except for Batman. But because of that, actually with Batman, it's another thing. With Batman, I've always looked at him as almost the big brother superhero. He's the one that he's like, oh yeah, there's a tinge of he breaks the rules. He's the he plays in the shadows, and he does the little boys club thing and everything like that. He's like, no man, he's the big brother superhero, right? He's the one that everyone looks up to and says he's the cool one. When they look up Superman, they say, oh, but he's the dad. He's the one watching us and making sure we're following the rules and making sure that we're all like the good guys at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And I like that kind of aspect.
You know? Hal Jordan's kind of like the oldest brother who's like too busy hitting on women.
Pretty much. Maybe the Batman analogy is more that he's the uncle. He's the fun uncle.
I wouldn't say fun.
Okay, he's the
alcoholic uncle.
The dangerous alcoholic uncle.
that likes to throw harangues.
Yeah. He throws sharp objects at people and like beats them up when he's
Aquaman's. Well, they could all be considered uncles. Like Hal Jordan's the creepy uncle that hits on all the women.
No, I would say no. Hal Jordan is the distant older brother who's like just hitting on ladies all the time. Who's
well, I mean, we got to keep it on this, on the same level here. So like, Hal Jordan's the uncle that hits on all the ladies. Batman's the uncle that is disgruntled and like is over somewhere drinking or punching something. I'd say that's the same with Guy Gardner.
See, Guy Gardner is very similar to very similar to that of Batman. Except there's a difference between Batman and Guy Gardner.
Yeah,
Batman is the uncle who kind of just came back from a war. He's kind of like he's quiet. He's kind of like in the corner drinking. He'll beat up a few guys, but like he won't talk about it. Yeah. Guy Gardner is the one who's like kind of boasting and like he's a bit of he's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah. And then you got like Wonder Woman, who's like the aunt who's, all into politics and stuff. So she's busy with that. She's busy, with
her career. She's
career and stuff. And then you got, you got Aquaman, who's like that rich uncle who's like out in another country. Like
he owns that villa. Like
he's never home, like he's always in the other country unless like every once in a while he comes back for family vacations and stuff like that. And and I'd say like Barry Allen's that uncle that when you have a problem you can talk to him.
Exactly. He'll listen. He'll be like, no worries, man, I got you back.
Exactly. I like this metaphor. And then like Superman's like your dad, where it's like, hey, you behave.
Yeah, he really is. He's actually a real dad now in the comics, actually, because he has his son John, which I thought was awesome. I love John. Superboy, the new Superboy is John, so he's the. And what I like about it is, if you follow the current comics right now, Superman has like issues where he is training John to be a proper hero.
Well, he named him after Jonathan Kent, you know.
Exactly, and there's like a lot of symbolic nature behind that, where he named his son after John Kent. He's married to Lois Lane now.
He's half Krypton, half human.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that aspect behind it. Like and John's actually been a fan favorite amongst some comic book readers, and so much so that they even made a line afterwards called Super Sons, which follows. So Batman has a son now too, named Damian, who's the current Robin, and he's been around for a while. But the two of them, John and Damian, have a book of their own called Super Sons, and it's kind of like so there's the old World's Finest comics where Superman and Batman would team up and do fight crime together. Kind of like you realize why Superman and Batman are friends. This is the book you would pick up to figure that out. This is what Super Sons is. It's kind of like the sons of the World's Finest are teaming up and like becoming friends now too, because hey, they're heroes around the same age, and even little kid heroes need friends.
I'm not familiar with John, but I know that Damian doesn't like playing with people. Like, he's even more dark and brutish than Batman is.
Yeah, Damian usually doesn't, but like Damian in this case scenario, they've been trying to work off the fact that even though Damian may feel like he can work on his own, he needs a team. This is why he's actually leading a team. Well, he's not leading, but he's part of a Teen Titans team right now.
Yeah,
led by Starfire. Which I found really cool. He's more of the tactician of the team. He's kind of like the Batman of the team, like the Justice League. He's not the leader; he's a tactician. Yeah. And then you have somebody, and then you have like the other team. He's with Super Sons, where he's teaming up with Damian. What I like about that is it's forcing Damian into roles where he himself didn't think he needed it, but he actually does. He's learning human interaction. We got to remember this is a character who, with Damian, he's never had that. And I think that's actually really helping his character, because he gets to finally like interact with other people and get to almost in a weird sense get the experience of what it's like to be almost a normal kid. You know?
Yeah, I think he was in Teen Titans versus Justice League, wasn't he?
He did, yeah. They put him in that animated short. Actually, I think that was the idea. That was part of the idea of what I got them to put him on a main Teen Titans comic as well.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. I suggest it gave a lot of limelight to Raven and Damian. If it's cool. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, because they have a lot of DC movies out now, which is great because they're really great. But that is the one where they went up against Raven's father, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Then it had a lot of center around Damian and her. I would definitely check it out. Like for people who don't necessarily maybe want to pick up the comics right away. Like if you're more of a person who likes to watch things first. I mean, obviously, if you like comics, you can absolutely go pick up some stuff in Damian. He's in a lot of things and stuff. But if you want sort of like a quick introduction of him, there's a couple of DC short animated, or not short, but DC animated films. The one Teen Titans versus Justice League. What was that other one where it was mostly about him? Son of Batman or something?
Yeah, they had that one. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one because that one kind of like didn't really get his character 100%.
They didn't, but you got to remember that was when we first met Damian, so he was a little bit of a shit disturber.
No, I got you, and I guess part of it's also because like it's just that like even during the Son of Batman story arc, she got more character development in that than even the movie portrayed. And I get it, like the movie versus the comics, it's different. Yeah. So,
but it might be a good introduction to people who might not run out and grab the comic right away. But I do recommend that if you do like some stuff that you see him in, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I think they might even have him on one or both on Netflix, Canadian Netflix anyways. Definitely check him out. I like Damian. I I like him a lot more than Tim Drake, honestly. I like him and Dick Grayson the best.
Yeah, definitely. I do like Damian, Dick Grayson also like were probably my favorites. I would agree with that. In regards to John, John is new. So John actually is fairly new. He's actually been introduced right before he was introduced right before Rebirth. So because what it is he was he was actually brought in along with Superman and Lois when they came back into this universe from the pre-52 universe. And then they merged in with the new 52 storylines and stuff like that to some degree because that's part of like the Rebirth continuity. That's a bit of a long discussion topic. But anyway, the currently the John is their son. So John's actually the new Superboy. He has never actually been. He's a new character. There was a time when Superman and actually Superman, Clark Kent, and Bruce Wayne did have a son. Both of them, there used to be Clark Jr. and Bruce Jr. because back in the old days they didn't have very much creativity.
Well, they did, but I mean, they didn't really. Whoever created, I don't know, remember who created, but it was just they didn't really think of it necessarily, stretch it out the way it should have been.
Exactly. No, I would say you're probably more right with that argument. But like, so the idea was this one was Superman. So like, well, Superman has a son now. They wanted to pull the whole family dynamic idea, and I think I like that because it's like that's actually kind of a nice twist that like hasn't been done in a while. The family dynamic. So John was introduced. John is the new Superboy, but he wasn't introduced as Superboy at first because at first his powers didn't manifest right away. They manifested a little later. And they wanted to definitely like, they were like, okay, well, we'll train him how to use his powers. And they weren't really sure if they even wanted him to be a superhero. They were like, well, he's still a kid. We don't know if he even understands like the level of responsibility. You know what I mean? So they said, but they were like, okay, no, we'll do it. We'll do it. And I think I like that idea. Like, okay, we will do it, but we will watch it. We'll make sure like, you know, that he's following the rules. Making sure that he's with Damian was an interesting aspect because like Bruce made sure that in his case, Damian was like, this lets Damian have a friend, somebody because John grew up being a normal kid, right?
Yeah.
Damian never did. So first of all, John can get training from Damian, so that means John can become more skilled as a fighter, and Damian can learn what it's like to be a normal kid from John.
Yeah,
you know? And I think that's a really great aspect that comes together with those things.
Absolutely. So that's about all the time for today. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we head out here?
No, I just want to thank you very much for having me on. Obviously, definitely highly recommend. If you're not going to read Superman, Batman, or whatever, just read Super Sons, man. That's a fun time on its own.
Yeah, Super Sons. I really gotta pick that up sometime to read it. But that's another discussion for another time. And definitely want to thank everyone for tuning in. And I want to thank my guest, Switchpoint, for coming on my show today. And definitely check us out. We're both on the Flat Pack, usually Tuesdays, maybe Wednesdays, if things come up. But this week, we're actually doing our 10th episode of the Flat Pack. So that's 10 weeks we've been doing this, which is 2.5 months. And yeah, definitely check us out there. Check Switchpoint out on his YouTube channel in the description below, and check out his Twitter, and definitely subscribe to his channel there. If you like this video today, definitely just subscribe to my channel. Definitely like this video if you liked it. Remember to hit the bell on the side just if you want to see updates from my channel. And I'll let you sign out there, Switch.
Hey, man, just remember, keep it switched up and have a good one.
All right, and remember to hug the person next to you. You know, there's not enough caring in this world. We definitely need some more. And, you know, keep it toasty. And I always have to do this for Flatmeister, but toasty! Yeah, so keep it toasty and have a great one. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Nerd Waffle Live.